This is a video about the Lost Lynx Motorworks diorama. This diorama is rather large. It comes in 3 pieces: the showroom, the shop, and the parking lot. I'm going to show you how they go together in case it ever has to be taken apart. Underneath the front are batteries. These batteries run the sign, and that's it. Everything else in this diorama is powered by a regular outlet, 120 volt AC. And I'll show you how the sign works. You stick this together like that, and you put the sign down the tube. And it should lock in. Guess I could show you. It's got a slot in it. So they put the sign in. Usually I have 2 hands. And then we'll go over the switches later, but there's 2 switches down here. One switch starts the lights. One switch is for the lights, and one switch is for the motor, and it rotates. Now, normally, you won't use the sign because the sign is only good for display purposes or if you're taking a shot of the whole diorama. Most of the photos will be taken inside the diorama. So it's advisable to keep this sign pole down so when you put the plastic on, it won't hurt the pole. So in most cases, that pole will be down and the sign won't be on. Okay, so here's how it goes together. There's a keyway in the shop and a keyway on the showroom. And that, make sure you line those up. It's kind of hard to take a video and do it with one hand, but there it is. This fits under this ridge here. And the reason I showed you the batteries first was because when this diorama is on a table, you really can't change the batteries. So you have to pull this out. Okay, then very good. Then we want to put this piece here in the doorway. See, the doorway is exposed down here, so you have a little piece that fits in to transition between the shop and the showroom. The door is able to open. Okay, notice this front glass here is crooked, and the reason we have it that way now is because we want to go over how the phone works, the iPhone works for the video screen. Okay, if you notice, there's plug here. It comes out, this top of this bookcase comes off in case you have to find this plug. But this plug is what you charge the iPhone with. And it'll run the iPhone forever because it's always charging if you have the diorama plugged into 120 volts AC. But for most purposes, I don't plug the iPhone in to charge. It's only for long time use. It's better just to not plug the phone in because it's kind of hard to do. And it's better to just charge the phone when you need it. Here's the phone. And here's the case. And you put it in with the charger facing out. You put it in like that. And so what I mean by difficult is you put this in here and then you try to get that plugged in after you slide this in. So it's a little tricky. So it's better just to not plug the charger in the phone. Okay. So, well, I'll show you how to set this up. First you have to turn the phone on. Come on, Apple, there it is. Wasting video, waiting for the phone to turn on. That's okay. All right, so we go into pictures, photos, and then there's a presentation, Lynx presentation. So you hit that, okay? Then you hit select. And you're gonna select 2 pictures and 2 videos. And then you go down here where the little arrow up box, and then you go down to where it says slideshow. And you hit slideshow. And this starts your presentation. And it's going to run all these in succession, and it's going to continuously run for those videos. So once you have it running, and you put the phone into the carrier, and you see what happened? That's right, it shut off. It's difficult to not push a button with your finger while you're putting this into the slot. So, let me start the video again. See, the video slideshow shut off, so we're gonna hit it, start it again. And be very careful that you don't push any buttons when you're trying to get this in there. Let's try it again.
In this search, men first drew inspiration from the forms of nature.
I did it.
Here is Allegro, an experimental car that could be called a practical.
And then you stick this in the slot.
Designed with a long hood, a grille that extends forward of the headlights,
very carefully.
a compact passenger compartment, and a fast-back roofline. Other advances include brake and accelerator.
And there's your video.
Adjusted to fit the driver. Here is a new concept in driver convenience: a unique cantilever-arm steering wheel with a memory unit. On re-entering the car, he merely touches
we will
the
shut
memory
it off
button to
so
move
it
the
doesn't
steering
disturb
wheel
our
back
video
to the
here.
original driving
Okay. All right. Now we can move this whole glass thingy back to where it was supposed to be. All lined up. There it is. And one other thing here. This door, if you want to keep this door open, you need to put this little pin in here. See this little pin? This little pin goes up in here through a little hole, and it keeps that door open. And of course, you have to use two hands. So you push that up, push the pin in, and now that door will stay open. Okay, very important, don't lose that pin. I'll have to build another diorama. All right. This showroom is accessed through this opening. You put the cars in here, or take the cars out, or move this stuff around any way you like through the top. And this is the wired up, so it's not going anywhere. Here's the lights and the roof for the showroom. Okay, that's what it looks like. Now, a couple of things. The office area. You can access the office area for display purposes by taking this piece off. This piece comes off also. This is the lights. And if you want to take photos of the office, this is a removable wall. So now you could shoot some pictures of the office looking out the door. You can also use your cell phone to drop your cell phone into these areas and take a picture, like out the window, out into the showroom, if you want to take a picture of what the owners might look and see out that window. So that's something to think about, is if you want to take pictures of the showroom, remove this wall. Oops. You have to be careful not to slide this wall in here. It hits that bookshelf, but you slide it in where the arrow is. Got little arrows on there. Okay. And you put this back. This has a pin. Goes in the holes. Make sure you align it right. And while I'm at it, you can see all the electronics here, all the dimmers, and there's the power supply. It's 120 volts in from the wall outlet, and it outputs 12 volts. And there is, back here, that happens to be the phone charger. It's just a standard car phone charger. And the wire runs all the way up in there over to the bookcase there where the iPhone was. So these are that's a power supply. And then after you get this thing connected, the two pieces, and you connect these two together, because it connects the power supply to the shop area. Shop area has dimmers. So let me connect that. I need both hands. To connect. And now you have this connected. kind of tuck it under there. And the power to these, the shop, it all runs together and plugs in over at the diorama power outlet. Okay, that concludes video. Oh no, one more piece. The asphalt parking lot, we have to assemble that too. And that slides underneath the shop area. And the way to align it, to make sure it's aligned properly, is to come over here and make sure this ramp is centered in the garage door of the parking lot. So that takes care of how you put the three major pieces together. We're gonna now put together the roofs and the tops and the fronts and everything. So we have the front piece, and it's put in together by magnets. You can see the metal, and then the magnets are hidden in this piece, so it's magnetic. Okay, we have garage door in front, and you can have the garage door open like it is now, or closed by slipping this piece in here, down in the front. You take this little short piece off and you slide in the big long one. But for right now, we'll just leave this open. It so happens that there's another garage door in the back. And it's partially open. And we have a rear door in the spare parts box. Also, you slip this in the back and you can have the door closed. It's a little bit tricky to get this in the long one in here, the long door. You have to bend it around this corner and then slip it in. So it's a little bit difficult to put this rear door in there, but it's doable. You just want to avoid changing it a lot if you can. Okay. I told you about, in the other video, if you want to have the audience, if you're in presentation mode, to view the office, you use this piece here, and you can see down in the office. But for photographs, you notice we have two holes in here. Those two holes are for panels. So this is the piece that goes here. So our solar panels come in and go out for the other piece. You just flip them out and slip it in. Okay, while I'm here, we have a dish, satellite dish. And the reason it's not on there, it's like this, because when you put the plastic cover on it, you have to take this off or it'll bust off. But for now, we'll stick it in these two slots. And now you have a satellite dish. And again, you won't take a video of that. I mean, you won't take photos of that unless you have landscape here, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Oh, this goes back in there. I'll leave it out for now, but this piece goes in there before the roof goes on. Okay, now we have a ceiling here, and this is a short piece, and the function of this short piece is so that if you want to display the diorama and show what the roof is going to look like, just leave that, just use the short piece. And then we have an air conditioner that goes on there. There's the air conditioner. So that would be the short piece. And if you're not in display mode for the audience to see inside the diorama, then you use the large ceiling. And of course, you use the same air conditioner. I didn't want to build 3 air conditioners, so the next piece that goes on there is the glass windows on the top. On this unit, there's a left and a right. If you look under here, it says L and R, and that has to go on there correctly. In fact, it's better to put the other roof on first. Where's my other roof? There it is. And it says which is the front and which is the rear. So we put it on with the front facing front. And we have another air conditioner. This one's permanently glued down. So we have 2 air conditioners, and then we slip this glass in there. So that would be what the whole thing looks like put together with all the roof pieces. Obviously you can't see inside very well, but you could turn the lights on. Let me do that. Diorama power. And I will talk about these switches. Perhaps I should talk about them now. I want to do it when the roofs are off. But so you can lighten up, put the dimmers on and off. And now you have lights and you can see inside through the door if you wish. But I'll go through the electronic switches later. But that is the completed diorama with the roofs on. Not very good for photos inside the shop, but if you ever take an overall picture, and what I'll do is I'll show you what the landscaping looks like. The landscaping is in this box. I have to mark the box still, but it's in this big roller box underneath the diorama. And see if I can get to the landscaping part. It's at the end of the book. Should be. Yeah, okay. Here's what the landscaping sections look like. I'm not going to break them out, they're very large, and you also have to have more table to support the landscape. This is a 2x4 here. If you just lay regular standard 2x4s out on another table, the landscaping will fit right on it. So here's the landscaping. This is the front, remember the showroom? These pieces fit right under. And there's trees, there's a box of trees. You stick trees in the holes. And there's grass and there's flowers and all that kind of thing. And then back here on this asphalt, there's another little piece of asphalt that goes in the back. Extends out here. There's a fence, chain link fence. And as you see here, this is the driveway. This asphalt goes right here, and there's a driveway. Comes up the front here. So, if you ever feel enough energy to take this diorama out of here, or maybe add more tables, then you can have a landscape around it. It's a daunting task. Here's a picture of, in the book, of the landscaping that's on the diorama. And if you have landscaping, you will need to get black asphalt colored cardboard to extend the landscaping even further, so you can take pictures of it. And this shows the section 3 and section 4 of the landscaping. So, talks about it in the book. So you might want to look at that. Okay, let's see. Okay, I've got the roof off so we can see inside the shop. I even have that little piece in the back off so we can see everything. Just in case we want to display this diorama, to cover this ugliness of the metal pieces, I have magnetic front pieces here, front clip. And that makes it look a lot better, at least for presentation. So we have 2 pieces that go in the front. But for photography purposes, you probably wouldn't use that either. Okay, what does all this mess mean here? Well, all the shelves, everything you see in here is movable. Okay, and it's pretty busy as you see it. When I laid it out, I set it up for different areas, assembly areas, interior, working on the interior, body work area, engine work area, and electrical. And that was just so that I could set it up and kind of remember how it all goes together. But again, for photography purposes, since everything can be moved, it's not that important to designate each area. But each shelf is marked underneath, assembly and electrical and interior, and each workbench is marked underneath. This is the assembly workbench. Notice all the tools and everything are glued down. Like this one is for assembly also, and it's got the drawings and a computer and a water bottle and a coffee cup and blah, blah, blah. All this stuff on these shelves, all glued down. Then for assembly, we have a windshield rack. So back here, this is the body work area. It says body work. So all the body work workbenches, like it has Bondo. See if I can zoom in there. Has buffers and Bondo still being mixed on the board. And there's a rack, a cart you can put the car on. All you have to do is make the pins, front and rear pins, so that it fits on the body. And all these workbenches and all those tools and all that equipment back there is all movable. The air compressor is glued down, and so that can't be moved around, but pretty much everything else can. The sink here is glued down, and this cabinet is glued. This is a parts washer, could be put anywhere. And chairs, and all the things inside the paint booth are movable. There's paint racks to paint things on, and there's a rotisserie that comes out. So that all is movable. All the things on the wall here are permanently glued down, the clock, bulletin board. So you don't want to take too many shots of the bulletin board over a period of time because nothing will change on it. But you can take a few shots of it in a quick photo. It's kind of out of the way anyway. You don't, because the clock is running. The clock runs and will always change time. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so we have lots of tools here, some really cool looking things. And the shelves, everything's glued down on the shelves. This would be the interior because it has stuff related to the interior, materials and stuff. So you need to move things around. These two poles, this pole and the pole down there by the paint mixing room are glued down. But these two poles are removable. So if you want to get in here and take a picture, you don't have to worry about the pole being in the way. So these two poles are movable. These two poles are glued down. Let's see. Okay, there are 3 car lifts that I want to talk about briefly. This one is all made out of metal. All the parts are metal, and these slide in and out to adjust for the frame that you're going to put on it. The reason I built this one is because I know Mark builds lots of cars out of brass, and they're pretty heavy. So this lift here, you can put the car on here, and this will hold up a lot of weight. As opposed to this lift. This is a standard lift you see in model kits. The problem with this lift is, if it's not glued down, when you put weight on it, it will bend these 2 sides in. So I installed clear plastic legs so it won't do that. You put a car on here and it'll hold quite a bit of weight. But if you don't like these glass things and you want to pull them off, they're glued on, and you put a car on here, even a moderately heavy car, this will bend. And I don't want to glue it down because you want to be able to move it around the shop. So just be aware of that. The photos, if you take them right, maybe won't show these glass legs on here. But that's up to you. You want to break them off and hope it doesn't bend, you can do that. But if for any heavy car, I would advise you put it on this stand here. Then we also have another car stand back here. That comes apart, and you can lower that top rack down to the bottom floor, or you can have it up where it is. It's 2 positions. So nice thing about this rack here is you can put 2 cars in one single space area. Put a car underneath it and a car on top. So I kind of like that one. The problem with this one is it's made with, now I forgot what you call it. 3D plastic printer. And if you look really close, you can see there's a good shot. See what it looks like, the lines on it? You can see where the plastic was put together with the machine. So if you take a real close photo of it, really close, it doesn't look all that great. It looks like plastic. But for a far away shot, you put 2 cars on there, like in the back of the shop, it would look pretty nice. Put 2 cars on there. So you can add a lot of cars to this shop area using this car lift. And I didn't want to take all the hours and hours to sand everything down and repaint it. It didn't seem to me to be worth it, because if you put it in the back of the shop, and way back there and put 2 cars on it, it would look pretty nice. So you can see all the different workbenches and all the different tools and stuff, and then all this is movable around. That welding area, you can move those screens, and so if you move some of these workbenches out, like an engine, on the engine area, where I have the engine and the parts for that, you eliminate that, and now you got a nice big space where you can move things around and take pictures. We have in the parts box, we'll go over to the parts box, LLM Diorama parts box. We have spare containers. We have spare workbenches that are empty workbenches. And we have empty shelves. So you can stack up some of this stuff and put new things in them, in case you are interested in doing that. Lots of extra parts that way. If you want to put some empty workbenches because it looks a little busy. There's no hand tools that are separate. You could take some hand tools from other dioramas and put them in here if you want to move some hand tools around on empty workbenches. So I don't think anybody would notice that you had the same hand tools in the Dearborn steel tubing and you had the same hand tools here, because a wrench is a wrench and a hammer is a hammer, but you got to be careful that you don't cross-pollinate too many parts from different dioramas, because people will notice it if you're not careful. But from far away, a crescent wrench, you're not going to notice where it came from. Let's see. I guess I'll move on to the lights next. Okay, lights. This is kind of an interesting thing here. Underneath the front of this diorama are all the controls. Light switches and dimmers. And we'll go through each one of them. I have the power turned on. And I also am going to supply you with, this is the guide for the different switches and lights. So you'll know which light is what and which switch does what. So there's one main power switch for the whole diorama. If you have diorama power turned on and you have it plugged in and you don't have the power switch on, this complete diorama is not connected to any power. I mean, it's shut off. So the main power switch is right down here. And all you can do is like feel your way around, unless you want to get a flashlight and look underneath. But now I just turned the power on for the whole diorama. And we'll go through these one at a time. The first dial is the office area. I don't know if you can see that. See back there? The office is all the way up and it's dimmed all the way down. Okay? The next one is the showroom. Nice and bright for seeing the cars in the showroom. And then we have the outdoor display. Oops, I forgot something. Better keep going with the lights, and I'll get back to that later. The next is the outdoor display. And in the outdoor display, we have 2 overhead lights and 2 lights showing the front of the cars. So basically, the cars go to my sample car here. The cars are placed somewhat like that. And over here, they're placed like this. Okay. So those are the outdoor lights, and they're on dimmers also. And then the next thing we have is If you look down in the office there, you will see a desk lamp. So if the guy, there's no dimmer on the desk lamp. If the guy's burning the midnight oil here, he turns on that light. And if it's the daytime, you come over here and you turn on some office lights with the desk lamp on. So that's that. Desk lamp in the office. The next two buttons are for the sign. Rotate the sign or turn the lights on. And we already did that, but this is where the buttons are, right down here. They're just push buttons. You push them. Okay, on this side, we have, let's see here. The first one is the light switch for the portable light. Now, this light here is completely portable. And it's wired all the way back to the middle of the diorama. And you can see the wire, if you look closely. The wire is right here going underneath this. And it comes down behind. So you keep the wire for this behind the workbenches and behind all the stuff. And then you can't see it. Or if you want to move this light, you pull it out, all the wire out, and put the light way down in the middle of the diorama. You could put this light anywhere in the diorama. And what it was for was so that you could highlight something. Like, I don't know, it's a portable highlight light. Which is kind of nice in case you want to highlight something in the diorama. But of course, if you're taking photos, you can bring your own lighting in here, but probably won't need to. The next dial here is the shop lights. We have lots of light here. That's the way I wanted it. You know, you go to a model contest and it always has crappy lighting, but these lights are very bright. And that's the way it should be. If you got a workshop and you need to work, you need lights. There's also a light that connects it to the rest of it to lights up the paint mixing room. There's a lot of detail in the paint mixing room, so I'm not sure how we can get that in a photo, but if you have a picture of a car down here and then the light for the shop will light up the paint mixing room. Okay, the next dial is the paint booth. It has its own lights and it has its own dimmer. So you can show something inside the paint booth. There's not a lot of visual area to take photos of in the paint booth. I was debating whether to make it a removable roof on it, but I decided, well, when would you remove the roof on a paint booth to take photos? So I just thought that doesn't make sense. You could take your camera and put it right up in here and show the car in the paint booth, but you're not going to have a lot of really good shots of a car in a paint booth. There's just not enough room in there to do that. I guess you could take some shots through the window. There's windows everywhere. So that's the paint booth light. And there's one more light. The lights in the parking lot. The lights in the parking lot, the switch is on the side of the asphalt down here. It's kind of hard to see and it's hard to get your fingers in there to turn it off and on. But you just stick your hand in here and it's a switch. Turn the lights on in the parking lot. And they're not dimmers. There's no dimmers for the parking lot. I figured at nighttime you're lit up and in daytime you're not lit up. So it's like I didn't see any need to put a dimmer on there. And the asphalt was added later. So I didn't get a chance to put a dimmer on there. It would have been a little more complicated. And so the lights in the parking lot are on or off. And of course, in the parking lot, we have forklift unloading the Dynacorn body and the Dynacorn boxes. And this is all movable. If you don't want to set this up, it's fine. The body, the Dynacorn body, this rack, the cage comes apart. And then you can take the body right off of there, and that body fits right on this rack. This cart. The pins fit right in here, so you can put that Dynacorn body over here in the body working area. Speaking of the body working area, there's one more big piece here. When I displayed this diorama, I didn't want to put the screen up because it blocks a lot of stuff. But if you wanted a dirty working area to work on cars and make dust and everything, you could set up the workbenches properly. And there's a piece here. It's the dirty working area made by AM Craft, just like in real life. And might take two hands here to do this. There's a hole in the top of the screen, which is for this pole. And it comes down like this and fits right up against the wall like that. So now you have an area that you can cover up. These plastic things don't move. That's where they're at. But now you have a dirty working area if you choose to do that. So just want to make a point of that in case you want to use that. Let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, there's one more thing. There's 4 security cameras. And they are magnetic. And you stick them on there like that. There's one there, and there's one by the back garage door. And there's one right there on the glass. And there's one more that goes right here for this front of the diorama. Now, the problem is, if you put the plastic on there, you'll lose this. It will pop off. So I take the security cameras off when I put the plastic on. This is the main one that will be lost, but the others may not. But just to be sure, I take all the security cameras off. And as I said in the other video, the satellite dish comes out for plastic covering when you cover it with plastic. I think that should do it. There's a lot of detail I could talk about inside the diorama, the different workbenches and shelves and machinery. But that will become self-evident as you set up your photos, as you decide what you want in your pictures. So that should cover the Lynx Motorworks Diorama.